There we
Hey,
go. We made
there.
it work.
How's it going, my friend? Sorry for the technical difficulty.
It's okay, man. I understand it's your first time. Seems like I'm a Facebook specialist at this point. How many times I've done it. Uh, Brian, I'm really excited to have you here.
Thank you.
This is usually with all the Liliac fans, Patreons. A lot of Patreons are here. Liliac has over 500 Patreons.
Hey, everybody.
And I mean, a lot of the fans probably already know who you are because you have interviewed Liliac a few times already, right? What was the first?
Absolutely.
Which year was the first time you interviewed Liliac?
That was, I want to say, but that was a good 3 or 4 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
It was out in Ohio, that place that was like a go-kart track. Remember that place, the indoor go-kart track?
It was the BMI in Versailles,
Yep,
Ohio.
that was it.
That's the first time we connected, and you knew your way to my heart. You gave me like some 2 bottles of wines, and you bribed me somehow, which it worked. We became friends after that.
Absolutely. No, it's always a pleasure talking with you, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh yeah, yeah. So this podcast is called Whiskey in the Jar. Somebody just give me a whiskey. I don't know. You like whiskey probably yourself, right? This is from Minnesota.
This one here might look familiar to you.
Oh yeah, I had that whiskey. It's really good. It tastes like chocolate. We don't have it because we drank it all.
I'll have to get you another bottle.
Merch lady also loved it very much. Mitzi, who's the merch manager. So that's why we're kind of on our time off, we had some whiskey. So the reason I appreciate you, and every time when you ask for an interview, I say yes, is because it seems that you have a love and appreciation for younger bands.
Absolutely.
And that's very important.
Absolutely. I love finding talented musicians around the world. And like you said, when you find somebody that's particularly a younger group, I love kind of latching on and watching them grow as musicians.
Yeah.
And especially your kids. We talked about that in the last interview. The first time I met them, and then you look back on, when they were playing the pier to where they are now, it's fun to see that growth.
Yes, it is. It's been a journey. And, somebody told me, said, hey, you guys don't even sit down and think about everything you achieved so far, because we're always like looking what we're going to do next. And it's amazing. If you think about it, YouTube, we reach over 130 million views on YouTube alone. Then we're talking about Facebook that I don't even have the numbers because there's so many Facebook pages that shared and got millions of views on, especially the cover songs, but on everything we've done. So, we're always hungry for the next step, next song, but maybe sometimes we just got to sit down and say, hey, look, we've achieved a lot, and kind of, tap our shoulder and say, good job. And it's interesting. Like, for example, we were asked if Paul Stanley's son has a band, and they were asking if they can go as a support on tour. And I said, yeah, we can do it. But I'm thinking like, man, he's Paul Stanley's son. Kiss. Think about this. And I think even a major band like that, I guess they can't even, I would expect them, they could, plug him in as being Paul Stanley or things like that. But, I think either they want it naturally to grow, and without, like you said, that even James Hetfield's son, he has a band here in Savannah, Georgia, and he doesn't want his dad's help. He just want to do it on his own. Sure. Because, so if you think about this, we don't come from a wealthy or a music scene that, hey, my kids are the sons of a big musician or famous. We actually earn everything we've done.
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys have worked hard over the years. Extremely hard to get to where you're at.
It is. Especially, I think it's even harder now than it was before.
Okay.
Because I remember when Liliac blew up on the internet, it was like we would put a video out and we would get 1 million views within 5 days.
Yeah.
Like I remember Queen of Hearts, we put nothing. On Facebook, got 1 million views. This is the original songs, 1 million views. Then we put We Are the Children, 1 million views. We put Sail Away in 1 week. And I was like, man, that's like almost like going platinum every time. Now, they kept changing the algorithm. And you see that Mark Zuckerberg actually, the government interrogated him for ruining a lot of businesses that they worked so hard creating a Facebook business, their business on Facebook. They got followers, and all of a sudden, they cannot access their own clients, their own followers, because they switched and the algorithm changed that they cannot access their own people. Yep. What do you think about that?
That's so frustrating. I mean, I deal with the same thing with my YouTube channel, and I'm nowhere near as big as you guys are. But like you said, YouTube switches the algorithm around. It's like they don't tell you now what they want. And so you're just kind of left there hanging. And it's like, well, how am I supposed to know what to do here?
That's true. That is true. And you're trying, to put the tags, the right tags, and all these things. And I kind of feel for a lot of bands that are starting out right now that it is tough. It is tough. It's even tougher than before. I mean, we're thankful that we made it at the right time.
Yep.
But it's not impossible. Meaning, if you write if you do your music and you are real about it and you write the songs from your heart and from you stand for what you believe in, I think people will see that and will start appreciating and following you. Like our booking agent Alex from TKO, which we just changed our agents in November, and not because BT did a pretty good job, but it's just like they had so many 80s bands, and in my opinion they didn't really look to develop bands. Like, you're already developed, I'm gonna find you work. And he kept saying, we're like salesmen, we're just gonna find you jobs, meaning find you venues. But I wanted a booking agent that could actually think like, okay, put Liliac on the road with other bands, bigger bands, do this, do that. So how can we grow? And I like that I have a very good relationship with this new agent. And we always sit down and talk. Well, what can we do? Who can we get them on the road with? And all those things are very, very important to develop the band.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have gone with TKO like years ago, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you learn.
And he told me, he said, I have an idea and let me know what the band thinks. And I actually have to talk to the band about it because he just gave me this idea. He was like, I know a lot of bands today, they make short songs because they want it to be radio edits. They want to get it on the radio. But he says, you see that as is, radio's not that big anymore.
Exactly. That's true. I mean, everything is Spotify or YouTube or Apple Music now. Hardly anybody listens to terrestrial radio.
So he was like, and I know Liliac can pull it off since you guys can do, you said that they could do even incorporate country music in a song. They could do, all kind of, well, it's still in the rock and metal genre, but they could have influences and flavors and stuff. It's not just one style that, so it was like, what do you think about doing a song that it's like, like back in the day, they used to not think about radio, Bohemian Rhapsody, November Rain. They're like, it's like 8 minutes long, like Heaven and Hell. That's 8 minutes long. I remember when we were editing, it was like, when is this going to end?
It came out awesome, though.
But it came out good. I mean, in what, 6 months or 8 months, already has almost 1.6 million views on YouTube. Yeah. And with the algorithm, and a lot of people give us props where we filmed it. And actually, that video did not cost any money at all. We just went to Arabia Mountain here in Georgia, which is like an hour away from us. And I didn't even ask for permits. I have this saying, rather ask for forgiveness than permission.
Exactly.
So I was expecting, that's why I told the kids, let's carry all the gear. And if the ranger or somebody comes, we'll just say, oh, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know we cannot film here. We'll pack up right now.
That's right.
And I was waiting, and I was filming and waiting. I was like, man, nobody's coming. Let's keep on filming. You know, let's keep on. And then after we got our video done, after 4 hours of filming, I was like, I guess nobody, you know. So people that were jogging or walking the mountain, they were actually stopping and listening. And they're like, man, you guys rock. And, you know, we did our thing.
Nice. So that's a perfect way to make more Liliac fans.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, being independent, and, you know, when you're independent, you don't have the support from a record label or anything like that. You always look for ways of doing things that won't cost you money.
Right.
And that's what we always done. Like, for example, Crazy Train. Most of that Crazy Train that has 30 million views on YouTube, about 80% of it was filmed with my iPhone.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, how did that blow up like that? And everybody, when we have meet and greets, I always ask them, hey, how did you discover Liliac? Oh, on the Santa Monica Pier with the. I said, you mean you've been on the Santa Monica? So no, I saw the Santa Monica Pier Crazy Train video.
Yep.
And I got hooked on Liliac. And after that, I got in the rabbit hole. And then, you know, I bought all the original albums. And so it's amazing, the content, how important is, you know, and I think, and I would encourage bands to not just wait for a record label to just come and sign them, because they could wait for a long time.
Absolutely.
You know, get to work. You know, you have access to, you could even use the iPhone, to be honest with you, and film a video if you want to. And, you know, especially the latest iPhone, you can film in 4K, edit it in the iPhone, and you could do something.
Yep.
You know, if you have a budget, I mean, even recording, probably with $500-600, you can get an interface, the laptop, and software, and you could do, you know, record your music.
Yep.
And the tools we have it.
Yeah.
The tools we have it. We just gotta, you know, work hard. And if you work hard, it could happen for anybody.
Absolutely. And I like how you even took it a step further. You know, you developed the studio in your home, in your basement.
Oh yeah.
So now you don't have to pay for studio time. It's right downstairs. That was brilliant.
Yeah, and when you come to Atlanta, I definitely want to give you a tour of the studio.
Okay.
It's amazing. It's 1,400 square feet, and now video shoots, photo shoots, the recording, we could take time too. Like on recording, we don't have to rush. And even if something we don't like, well, let's do it again. Let's, you know, it's amazing, because I know when you have to pay $50-75 an hour of studio time,
Yep.
you know, you get pressured by time, then you don't, you know, probably you don't have the budget, and you just leave it like that, and you wish you would have done it better.
Yeah.
So it's very important to do it yourself, in my opinion.
I agree.
Now, you know, like I said before, I'm not bashing record labels, because certain record labels that really believe in the band and works hard for them, you know, could actually do stuff for artists. But look at even Skillet. They just dropped off the record label after 20 years.
Yep.
And one of the biggest reasons is that, well, we make more money, and also we don't have to wait for the board meeting or the members of the board to approve our music. And if we want to, we wrote it, we're excited about it, we can release it, you know, in a week or 2 weeks. We don't have to wait for months and months for everybody to say okay on it.
Exactly.
What do you think about that?
Oh, and you know, talking with you, and I've talked with a lot of bands that are independent, and I've talked, you know, with a number that are with a label. And one thing that I found pretty consistently is the bands that are independent, they always say, you know, they realize that they might be sacrificing a little bit of money right off the bat. However, they like the fact that they are keeping control of their music, that it's their baby, and it's not somebody else telling them what to do with it. And so that's what I would be drawn to is, you know, just like with my YouTube channel, yeah, I could probably go do some things that might get more views, but it's not me. And so I want to be my real self, and I respect when bands want to be themselves.
Yes, very true. So what do you think about, well, we know that internet is huge right now, and like there's I saw Oliver Anthony. He did a video and a song in his backyard, and it blew up so big. He has huge tours right now. He's a national star. But what do you think about, you know, uh, you know, because I always hear people like, oh man, you know, why don't you hire a songwriter so you could write that catchy radio hit? Why the people still are stuck in writing music for radio uh, purposes when it does, you know, like I don't listen to the radio. I
Yep.
listen, I have Spotify, Apple Music, I have my playlist that I want to listen to. I go on YouTube, and a lot of people, you know, like I don't even have SiriusXM. I know some people have SiriusXM and they listen to that, but me, myself, and I like to find the music on my own,
Yep.
or
Same
I
here.
like what I like, and I just make my playlist because sometimes I get disappointed if I'm driving and I have the radio on, they're not playing the songs that I want to hear.
Exactly. Or they're playing the same 6 songs over and over and over. And I think, to answer your question, I think people are so used to, in society, it being drilled in our head for decades, radio is king, radio is king. And I think it's slowly, we're drifting from that, thankfully, but I think it's going to take even more time. I mean, you look at pop music, popular music today. If we really drill it down, a lot of people, I don't know if they love it as much as they think they do, if they think they're supposed to because it's popular, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. And I'm the same way. I find my music on YouTube, and I'll just go down that rabbit hole of You May Like, and I find some band from Sweden that I never heard of, and I fall in love with.
Yes, and you know why? I mean, I know people like songs because they're familiar with it, and that's why I see that a lot of songwriters are kind of, I see even in pop music, the big ones, it's just recycling the same chord progression that I heard a million times, but they do it because, well, it's a catchy tune, everybody's from. Why not find bands and music that it's something you never heard before, and it's
Amen.
totally different? It's
Yep.
like more unique and different it is, the more should be accepted and loved. And
Yep.
that's what I like about our Patreon, because the Patreon says we want Liliac to write longer songs, and we want them to be themselves. We're here to support them without paying, you know, without getting with a record label that's gonna, you know, try them to sound a certain way. We want Liliac to be themselves.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that drew me to the band, was that they don't sound like another 10,000 bands. And that's my problem with radio and with popular music in general. Like you said, I feel like if I've heard one, I've heard them all.
Yeah.
And that's even the case with country radio. It all sounds the same to me. That's why I love finding artists like you guys, or, you know, like some of the artists I shared with you last time we met, like Jesse Adams, that country singer. So it's so different, but incredible. And that's what drove me, you know, when I'm on my channel and I'm making like artist spotlights, I don't care about making money. I'm like, guys, this music's awesome. Go check it out.
Yeah.
And that's what I love sharing with people.
And it seems like you do have a thing for Romanians for some reason.
I do. Well, like we talked, I've got some Romanian blood in me, so there you go. We've got that.
So, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, you do look like a Romanian. So how do you have the Romanian? Do you have like grandparents, great grandparents?
Yeah, so it's my dad's great grandmother is from Romania.
No way.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep. So most of my background is German. That's most of my ethnicity. But we've got Romanian, and then we've got a little bit of Israeli in us as well.
Oh,
so
wow.
We're pretty much from everywhere.
My wife's from her mom's side, the grandparents are German. That was I guess after World War II, they went to. We have a big region. Well, we have a you know, like a big culture of Germans, that German towns in Romania. So her grandparents are Germans. They spoke German besides Romanian, and so she has like a quarter German. But you know, it's interesting because, you know, she's Romanian as well. And I mean, I go to, you know, here in Georgia, they have like 2 festivals in the spring and the fall, and I go to them, and they have the traditional music, traditional food. My wife still cooks Romanian food, and
nice.
Actually my kids are, you know, we're Americans, and the kids are born in America, and but they actually embrace knowing that, you know, they have Romanian parents, and
sure.
You know, they kind of see that and appreciate. And actually some of the foods, they love Romanian foods, you know, that My wife cooks, and that's good. What did you think about that when Melody was wearing? She wore a pair of jeans, bell bottoms, and it actually was the
With the
Mitzi,
American
who's
flag.
yes, Mitzi, who is the merch lady. She had them, and Melody was like, you know, it was rock fast, and she was like, I just feel like, because you know, I kind of raised my kids to be loving the country, patriotism, like you know, and I hate it when I see or hear people saying that, oh, USA, they, you know, like they are talking bad about this country because of what happened in the past with the slavery, and you know, which I learned. You know, I came here in '92, so I learned in school about everything that happened in the past, and they're trying to put this country down, which actually for us. Especially that my parents and I lived in a communist country before we came here, and having the freedom and the opportunities to have our American dream,
Exactly.
it's amazing, and you can't ask for more, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
And I love this country very much. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else,
Yeah.
to be honest. I mean, if I don't have any other choice, I would probably go to Romania, but this is my country. I mean, I've been here since I was 12, so I lived most of my life here. My kids are born here. But I think some people got it wrong, because those bell-bottom jeans was not taken from the actual flag. That's just
Exactly.
a piece of material that had the
It's no
design
different
of
than a T-shirt with a flag on it.
exactly.
It's to honor.
But a lot of people are like, why would you drag the American flag through the dirt? And why would you do that? That's disrespectful. And we're thinking like, you know, and Melody had high heels boots, and he didn't even drag anywhere, first of all. But those are just jeans that I asked Mitzi, where'd you buy them from? She was like, I just found it at the supermarket in Texas, where they're you know, and me being, because Mitzi is she's very patriot, and she said, I want to represent, and because I love America.
Yeah.
And we got nailed down on it because Melody wore those jeans. What do you think?
You know, though,
Think about that.
a couple things. First of all, you're going to have people, and you know this better than I do, who are so jealous and are going to nitpick and try to tear down everything. It's just, I hate to say it, miserable people try to make other people miserable. That's a big part of it. The other thing, I liked how you put that post out there and you addressed it head on. You didn't run from it. It was like, hey, here's what it is. There was no disrespect at all. And if you see disrespect, sorry, that's your problem, not mine. You know, because that's really how it has to be. When I saw it, I thought, that looks awesome. She's honoring the flag. She's honoring the country. There was nothing disrespectful about that. You know, people are going to try to look for ways to be offended when there's nothing.
Yeah, and it was weird because in one day got like 500,000 views, that video. And you know, the conversation kept going, and you know, people saying this way, the other people saying the other way. And you know, like somebody said, he said, look, man, I got swimming trunks with the American flag design on it. So when I sit down on the sand, does that mean I'm disrespecting the flag?
Exactly. Well, like somebody in the comments just mentioned, they said, you know, we just had the Olympics, and if an American wins and they wrap themselves in the flag, is that disrespectful? Of course not.
And
it's
that's
the same concept.
That's the actual flag. This, what Melody was wearing, was not the actual flag.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that she wore it. I love that she wore it with pride, and I love that you took a stand to defend her from people.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, like I said, we brought our kids to love, and I told them that what we've been through. My dad was 9 months in a communist jail in 1987 because he tried to, with him and his friends, for freedom of religion, because we were raised in a Pentecostal Christian family, and back in the day, Pentecostal, Baptist, or any Protestant religion was considered a cult. They were not considered a religion, so they used to call the Pentecostal cult or the Baptist cult, or you know what I mean. So my parents, being raised, Christians, and they were like, man, America, you could, you have no restrictions to express yourself, and So basically, with that said, my father and their friends were like, hey, they planned, let's just cross the borders. Once we pass across the border, USA would take us in. So they wanted to go to Yugoslavia and then ask for the immigration to take them in, and they would do it, but they got caught right before they got, and they did 9 months in jail. A communist jail was a tough jail, trust me.
Yeah.
My dad told us the stories. He got beaten and all that stuff. So with that said, then when the communists fell in 89, in 1990, a friend of his said, hey, I want to invite you to come to California. And when he went to immigration and showed him the certificate from the jail, USA right away approved him and gave him the green card, brought the whole family. We got the citizenship after 5 years. So we've been through a lot to be, my dad could have died, on the way or in jail, trying to bring his family here to have freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom. So we appreciate this country very, very, very much.
I think that's part of it is, you guys had to fight to enjoy the freedoms that we have here. I think part of the I don't know if problem's the right word, but part of the issue is that a lot of folks here in this country have never had to live in anything but freedom. So they take it for granted. They don't understand what other people have gone through. My dad was in the military. Both my brothers were my one brother, Mark, is still in the National Guard.
Wow.
These guys and women, they put their lives on the line.
They do.
For that freedom. And I think people lose sight of that this isn't just something that, oh, hey, it's free. No, it was bought and paid for with the blood of patriots. And, by the grace of God and the blood of soldiers, we have freedom.
I do love and respect the soldiers. And, I'm just going to, before, during the pandemic times, remember when the Black Lives Matter was happening?
Yep.
We were in California, and we were planning to do the music video for We Are the Children. And We Are the Children was actually, when Liliac wrote it, it was because of what was happening. People were like, they were burning the flag, they were destroying stuff. And I remember, friends of my kids, they said, hey, we're shooting a video and we want to, and I bought a big flag that was like 20 by 20 feet. It was huge. And my idea was for my kids and their friends to hold the flag and show that we're proud of this country.
Yep.
And they all refused. Their friends and relatives, they're like, I'm not going to hold that flag. He said, I don't want to get shot. Right now, the flag is a bad thing. That's what they were saying to us. I was like, what are you talking about? So I couldn't shoot that scene because nobody wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I was
that's a sad commentary on where we are as a society, that people are not willing to take a stand. Like, no, this is not right. This is not who we are to be as people, to be acting like this. And this flag represents the best of us. Now, do we fall short? Of course we do. We're human beings.
Yeah.
But it's the ideals of what that flag and what this country stands for is that we should be going, striving to be. And I think people have lost sight of that, unfortunately.
True.
If you ever do want to make the video, I'll come and help hold that flag.
well, we ended up putting a shot of the flag, that was, so we did use the flag in the video, but I just had that idea, the band and, other kids, like because it was a big flag, and we were at the Santa Monica Pier at the beach, and they didn't want to do it. So then I had to find another alternatives, but hearing them saying that, it just really broke my heart. I was like, who raised you guys? How could you be afraid or ashamed of the flag? Or who cares what other people believe? You stand for the flag, you stand for your country. Don't just follow a trend, or don't be afraid of what they're saying in the media or whatever. I don't go by that kind of stuff.
Exactly. The way I look at it, if somebody is going to criticize me for being proud to be an American, why do I care what they think of me?
Yeah.
I mean, their opinion's not relevant to me at that point.
Yes, yes, very
And
true. So,
that's not putting any other countries down. I think everybody should feel that way about their country. And if
yeah,
not, work to change it so that you can feel that way about it.
yes, 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 yes. I like that you're standing strong on this topic as well as you're a true American. You
That's
know what I
right.
mean?
And you guys as well. It's another thing I respect you for.
So you live in Pennsylvania
Yep.
area?
Yeah,
Okay.
Erie, Pennsylvania. So I'm just about 100 miles north of Pittsburgh. So when I've seen you guys at Jurgles, it's about an hour and 15 minutes north of there.
Yeah, well, our first show was in Jurgles, and that happened right after President Trump got shot in the ear.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that was right there. And I was like,
Right in
whoa.
Butler.
And huh?
Right in Butler, right
Yeah,
there.
I was like, man, that was kind of a crazy coincidence. And seeing that event, and I mean, that's historic. I mean, that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching the news. I couldn't believe it that something like that would actually happen.
Yeah.
And so and then it happened right there in the Pittsburgh area, and it was something, that it kind of made us really think about what a privilege it is to be in this country, though, and love that there's people that stand for what they believe in, and thank God we still have that freedom. And I hope
Yeah.
things won't change, because trust me, we had it differently when you couldn't speak out freely, you couldn't express yourself, like for example, when I go and visit my mom in Anaheim, California. She lives like a block away from Disneyland, and there's a big community of Asian people in Anaheim and Garden Grove. And you see Buddhist temples. You see, Muslim have their mosque. Christian have their church. Everybody's allowed to do that. I know countries that they won't allow that.
Oh yeah.
Like Romania, for example, there are 93% are Greek Orthodox Christians, even though I think the Muslims bought a huge land in Bucharest. They bought it. It's theirs. And they wanted to build the biggest mosque in Europe. And the Romanians said, no way you're going to do that. This is a Christian country.
Yep.
They're like, what do you mean? You guys are democratic. I said, we don't give a... He said, Dracula had to impel you guys and save this country. And now you're going to build the biggest mosque of Muslims. They wouldn't allow it. The president said, no way. We don't care. You could buy whatever you want in here, but we're not approving you to. So I was like, America's too good to let everybody do whatever they want. And they get criticized the most, that they say America's the most racist country in the world. They're this, they're prejudiced. Actually, no, they're not.
It's ridiculous.
They're not.
Go to some Asian countries, and I'm not putting them down, but there's some racism there.
Oh, yeah, they won't allow. I mean, I remember I had a friend of mine that was a missionary, and he went to China. This was in 2007, 7, around that time. And he said he was protected because he was from America, but he said he witnessed when the police came and he cut the pastor's tongue because he was preaching the gospel. And he went and he said, man, I'm a strong person. But after that, he said, I will never go back to China. He got so scared.
Sure.
In front of him, they cut his tongue because he was preaching the gospel of God. And he said, we have it too good here in America.
Yeah.
Other countries, Christians, like especially in Asia, like communist countries in Asia, you don't get that opportunity to pray, to have a church, to have a community, to have prayer meetings. No.
My fear is that we're starting to slip away from that. And I blame the American people more than anything, because they are losing that pride in America. They are losing that pride and sense of we're in this together. Everybody is just at each other's throat. Everybody hates each other. And it's like, that's the easiest way for a society to crumble in on itself. And that's my biggest fear, is that's what we're seeing, happening day and day. And it makes me sad.
Wow. So what is to be done, my friend? What's your message?
Honestly, the biggest thing is So I'll say threefold. One, pray. Get on our knees and pray. Because the Bible says that if God's people will turn and pray to Him, He will bless. He will hear them and heal them.
Oh, wow.
Two goes right along with it, and that is to love. Even if somebody is on the other opposite end of the spectrum, don't see them as evil. Even if you think they're wrong, that doesn't make them evil. We've got to remember to love. Now, sometimes it's
Yes.
harder than others, understandably. And three is just what you said earlier. Don't be afraid to take a stand. Peacefully take a stand and say, no, this isn't right. I'm going to take a stand right here for what I know to be right. And if you don't like me, well, that's fine. But I'm not going to bend over just so that people will like me.
Yeah.
I think if everybody did that, we may not all agree, but it would be a much better place.
And what you think about, Melody, you know that she's a very spiritual person, and Abigail too. But Melody, she's very outspoken after she got baptized. Well, all three of the oldest kids got baptized. And actually, because they wanted to get baptized in a nature, so we went to a lake with the local pastor here in Georgia. And he was like, look, man, he was a black man, and it was like, I'm scared of waters. So he said, Papa Liliac, I want you to come with me. I'm not a good swimmer. And I was like, I'm not a pastor or anything, but I had long hair back then. But I guess I'll come. So I got, dressed in white too. And I went with him, and it was my first time experience that I had to assist the pastor baptizing my own kids.
Yeah.
And, since then, Melody has been on that path. She didn't, and this was like 3 years ago. She stuck to it, and you saw that even at the end of the show, she gives a blessing. And you know what's interesting? We're talking about rock and metal, because my family criticized me and my kids. They said, oh, you guys are not true Christians because you do rock and roll and you do metal music and this and that, and you should do only Christian music. And I said, well, first of all, I think we're actually going out there in the world where probably, Bible or Christian people don't have access, or the Word of God doesn't have access. And we're there. And then at the end of the show, she's blessing everybody.
Exactly.
And making them aware that this family is actually a Christian family. And people could walk away with something like, man, you know what? I love this band, and I like their values too. And so that's the thing that still my relatives and my family don't understand, that actually what we're doing is actually, it's more effective probably, because people at the church, they already know the Word of God. They go every day, they already know that. But what about going out there and do that?
Well, if you think about it, that's exactly what Christ did when he came here. And he specifically said the physician doesn't come for those who are well. He comes for those who are sick. And who did he hang out with? He didn't come and hang out with the righteous. He came and hang out with a rough group. And, that's the people that he went to, because that's who needed him. And that's all of us in reality. And the thing is, it's like you said, if somebody's coming to a rock and metal concert, maybe they've never really heard the good news of Christ because they have a bad idea of church. Maybe they've been hurt, so maybe their opinion is justified. And they go to a concert and they hear things like Christ loves you from somebody that they just rocked out to. Think of the power that has.
I mean, I'll tell you one experience. We had a show. It was in Joliet, Illinois. 5 opening bands. Each one was the growling. And not only that, it was a growling metal. Like, one of them was like, she was like 6, 6, 6, 6. They were about witchcraft, about, and I don't know who booked them to perform, and then there goes Liliac. They do their show, and at the end, they start saying the blessing. I'm like, man, actually, that show was the most interesting. You have 5 bands, all metal, death metal, and talking about, it was just so interesting. I was laughing about it. I was like, wow, now that is something. At least Liliac headline and ended up with a good message and a blessing to everybody.
Exactly. And that's one thing. Another thing I've always appreciated about you, and I know we talked about this before, when you guys come out and you play, you are rocking hard, but you're not dropping F-bombs. You're not dressing in slutty ways. It's classy, and I like that, because that shows people, hey man, you can have a great time. You can rock out. You don't have to sell yourself short to do so.
No. Yeah, you're right about that. And we don't need that. I don't know why some artists, they think that they have to do all that stuff to get. I don't know. I mean, it's just like, yeah, and like I said, you got to be a light in this world, and I'm happy with what we've been doing. And I think if we keep at this path, and this is the only way. And you know what's interesting? Every time she gives a blessing, you have a big group of people appreciating that and say, amen. And they're like, oh, and it was a rock and metal show because they grew up with this kind of music, and they came there because they're fans of this music, but encourages them even more, reminds them that, you need to have a healthy, clean life, and, stand by what you believe in.
Yeah. And to the person saying they hear the phone vibration, sorry about that. That's my Instagram notifications going off. So I saw somebody say, I hear the phone vibration.
What, Lilo?
But no, I agree with you. And that's when I go, and the bottom line is, it's also great music. I mean, that's what what we're there for. And people who say, oh, well, you can't play music that's non-Christian, or if you're a Christian. Well, okay, is your job always a Christian job?
Yeah.
Is the food you eat Christian food? No, I mean,
it is true. It is true, because that's what I kept saying to my mom, and I said, okay, I know that you guys support in your church your kids to go to college and become a doctor, but I said, when he becomes a doctor, does he operate only on Christian people?
Exactly.
Does he take only Christian clients? Well, no. And I said, then what's the difference for us that we, our job is to perform and entertain people. And so what that we entertain Christian and non-Christians. And guess what? Even the ones that probably are not believers, when they hear her saying at the end of that might raise some questions, or might.
It's a seed.
You're planting a seed. Yeah, that's very true. It's very true. That's exciting, man. It was really great having you on this live stream.
Yeah, thanks.
And I think the fans and the Patreon really appreciate you very much. And they like your interviews. And, we went off from music to patriotism and faith and this and that. But I think we all need that in our lives. We need a good music. I think that I would encourage band, and I want to encourage even Liliac, to not think about trending or radio, because everybody, you need a songwriter to write you that catchy. That catchy song probably is being done a million times.
Exactly. I always looked at it this way. If I were to become an artist and, start making music, I'd rather have 10,000 people that really, truly connect with my song and love it than have 1 million people say this is great and forget it 6 months from now.
Wow.
I mean, that's
the
reality.
Everybody's about the numbers today.
Yep.
A million, oh my gosh. And they would sell their soul just to get that big fame. And and a lot of people don't understand it, because that's why I don't even know if they're real fans. They say, oh, you need this, get rid of Papa Liliac and your manager and get a real manager so you could be famous. But Melody told me, said, Dad, I'm happy with what we have, as long as we're working and we could have shows and we could do our music. She said, I don't want to be famous. I don't even want to be famous like Taylor Swift, like that.
Exactly.
I want to be successful. And you could ask her, she'll tell you the same thing, because she's, I even brought the subject with the record labels. And I said, look, I could start trying to, because I have leverage right now with all the views you have, and I could search a record label and get your record deal. I could go and say, look, Liliac did this, sign them, and you just start making money with them. But they said, no, don't do it.
Yep.
They're the ones, and people think that Papa Liliac is holding them back. You see what I'm saying? And I'm like, what are you talking
And for
about?
people
I give them the
watching, I've
option.
seen it firsthand. He's telling the truth. I've been there.
You know, they have to first of all hear from, because if the kids would have wanted with a record label, I mean, they would have told me, and I would have said, okay, let's do it, because that's what you guys want. But they don't want that,
Exactly.
because they're afraid that they're going to change their sound, and also they're afraid that they're going to change, you know, what they believe in and what they want to stand for. And that's very, very important. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, they want to stand for what they believe in. And I think more important than that big fame that people are searching is to have a successful career and a happy life, you know, because happiness is more important than even fame or money at that point, if you think
Without a
about
doubt. And you know, that's a great point. I mean, how many really famous, really rich people do you see, and they're miserable? They're committing suicide. They're on drugs because they don't have that true joy. And there's a difference between, oh, this is great, I've got money, and actually experiencing joy. And honestly, this is, I consider it a blessing. Not only do I love the music from you guys, but I consider you and your kids friends of mine, and that's a blessing to me. And I can't buy that. Money can't buy that. That's a gift, and I appreciate it.
Wow, that's big words right there. And thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate that. And you know, I mean, the kids already, when they see you at, you know, usually we meet you at Jurgles every time, and they're like, oh yeah, sure. And every time you come is right before they bring the dinner. But you get to do the interview, and I really like your parents. Your parents are big supporters of you, and I can see
Thank
that
you.
it's a family, and I like that. They support what you're
They love
doing.
you guys.
They're enjoying Liliac, and I know your parents are believers as
Yep.
well. And you know, and to see people that, because you know, I know your parents comes from a different generation of music, probably. What music did they listen to back in the day? Like,
Well,
what's
you
their
know
favorite?
what's funny? I mean, they grew up and they liked the rock, like Elvis and things like that. What's
That's
amazing to me, my dad is, so you and I are the same age. My dad is 78. He loves the same exact music that I do.
wow.
So, you know, we'll go, and my mom likes a lot of it too. So I took him up to Canada, went to a country concert. He loved it.
Yeah.
3 days later, we were seeing Disturbed in Cleveland, and he loved it. Like, this is
Wow.
awesome.
That's amazing, man. That's a blessing, and that's how we should be. And I think rock and roll is the genre of music that kids, grandkids, parents, grandparents could love it, and they all could have something in common. That's why, you know, I would like to encourage, and hopefully rock and roll and this music will definitely get more and more people liking it. You know, nothing against, you know, I know Taylor Swift is super big right now and pop music, but I talked to a lot of Patreons, and they said, man, for me, even if I get free tickets to see Taylor Swift, I wouldn't go. It's not my type of music. But like you said, you go to a rock show with your parents that are 78, and you're my age, I'm 44, and we could all enjoy a rock.
Yep.
And we have kids and grandkids that come to our show, and they're excited to hold a plush in their hand and sing and enjoy the music next to their parents or their grandparents. So
Yep.
that's amazing. It really is. So usually I have a 1 hour live stream. Thank you so much, Brian, for coming on.
Thank you
I
for having
really
me.
appreciate it. I think we should do this again another Friday when we have
Absolutely.
a chance. We're gonna go back on tour probably the following week, but when we get back and I have free time, we'll arrange this again and we can continue this conversation. But I really, really appreciate it for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. We'll do one last plug for the Drunken Bean whiskey. This is my friend Claudia Heuser, and I gave Florin a bottle, and he can tell you this stuff is delicious. So.
It's delicious. It tastes like chocolate. It's interesting because like this is whiskey, but that one is like whiskey and I don't know what flavor is, like whiskey and chocolate or something. It's really good.
Dangerous. It can sneak up on you because it tastes so good.
I know. But again, thank you so much for supporting young bands and supporting Liliac, especially.
Absolutely.
Which, you know, is the band that I put my whole life into helping achieve their career and success in their career. But have a good night.
You
Thank you so
too.
much, and I'll see you again.
And thank you,
Rock
my
on
friend.
and
In
rock
any
hard.
way that I can help you guys, feel free to let me know.
I will definitely. Thank you. Have a good night, my friend.
See you, brother.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. That was it for tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with Papa Liliac and Brian from Pennsylvania, who interviewed the band a few times. He's a big supporter and lover of Liliac and other young independent bands. With that said, thank you for hanging out with us. Lilo is impatiently waiting for me to open the door so she can go to the bathroom outside. So I'm going to let everybody go. I'm going to end this live stream. But in the meantime, if you're not a Patreon of Liliac, now's your chance to be part of the community. So go on Patreon and become a Patreon, Liliac's Patreon. We have a Discord where you get to talk to Liliac, to the real Liliac. I have people that says, hey, I've been talking to Melody on Messenger. And I said, oh no, you're talking to a fake Melody. Or I've been talking to Abigail. You're talking to a scammer that is using Melody Cristea or Abigail Cristea. Melody or Abigail does not talk to their fans on Messenger or Google Hangouts or anything like that. The only way you could talk to Liliac is on Discord, on Liliac's Discord, meaning you got to become a Patreon, and every Friday when Liliac is at home, communicates with their Patreons. I get on Discord every day, and I get to talk to Liliac's Patreons, and Liliac's Patreons have all the truth and the information from the real Liliac and from the real band, not some scammers from Philippines or Indonesia or whatever. I mean, it was funny because in Joliet, Illinois, we had this guy that came for the meet and greets, and he said, after we did the meet and greets, he said, so what about the after party? I was like, what are you talking about? He said, well, at the hotel. I said, we don't even go to a hotel. We have a tour bus. He said, Abigail made a video for me, and I paid $300 to have an after party after the show, and then have breakfast at the hotel in the morning. And I said, what are you talking about? Show me the video. And he shows me an AI generated video that took Abigail's image and talked like Abigail, saying, hey, Patrick, this and this. Even use his name. And I even showed my kids, and Abby was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe a scammer would do that, such a thing, and use my image. So that's what I said. Do not fall in that trap to think, oh, I'm communicating with Abigail. I mean, I even had the guy that did in the factory, Abigail's riser. He said, yeah, I'm talking to Melody every day. I'm like, what? And Abigail too. I said, what? No, Abigail and Melody they don't do that stuff. And I said, well, on Messenger. I said, Melody doesn't even have Messenger. She doesn't even have Facebook. And it was like, really? I've been talking to her for months. I said, did they ask you for money? Well, no, but I said, dude, don't give money away and don't fall for the scammers. The only way you could talk to the real band is through their Patreon. And if anybody asks you for money, it's a scam. Liliac, we don't ask for money. You see that lately, we don't even do a GoFundMe or nothing. Everything is raffles. When Liliac does a raffle every 6 months, that's the only way. And Liliac sells music because they're musicians, or merch, and that's it. We don't ask for handouts. And if they do, it's a scammer. Please believe and take my word. The only way you could talk to the band is to Patreon. So everybody, if there's admins here on Liliac's Facebook page, please share the Patreon link, and so people can join Patreon, especially big Liliac fans that wants to be part of Liliac's journey, Liliac career, and have the real information from Liliac and enjoy, and talking to Liliac band members. That's the only way, is through Liliac's Patreon and Discord. So with that said, join Patreon. It's $5 a month. That means I don't even know how much. It's like 16 cents a day. It doesn't even make it's unbelievable cheap, in other words. So but anyway, guys, I gotta let you go. Lilo is waiting impatiently. She has to go. Besides that, Liliac shows, the new leg of tours coming out. It's gonna even go to Canada, Richmond, Virginia, Reading, Pennsylvania, Buffalo, New York, Scranton, Pennsylvania, Toronto, Ottawa, Canada. Buy your tickets. It's going to be the best show and the best experience you'll ever see or feel. So definitely get your tickets and meet and greets to meet Liliac, and they'll autograph what you bring in for the band at the meet and greet. And enjoy. It's going to be one of the best experiences you'll have. You'll hear the high screams that a lot of people say, oh, that's produced in the studio. No way Melody screams are real. Come to a live show and you'll hear the real deal. Trust me on that. Rock on and rock hard.